I guess the bread and butter of your game, especially when you started, is our old furry friend over here.
Oh, rabbit, yes. Yeah, they've on the increase somewhat these days. Really on the up and up, the old rabbits.
Right.
It's been an interesting past few years with the rabbits.
And why are numbers going up again?
Since the release of RHD in the Mackenzie country, which took out huge populations of rabbits,
right.
Worked very, very well. We're now finding the immunity in the rabbit levels are building up. We're getting more and more immune rabbits, and we know this by shooting rabbits and taking the blood from the rabbits and getting it checked, and we can see how many rabbits of that population have been challenged by the virus, and 60 to 70% of the population has immunity to RHD, and with up to some of them being as high as 80.
Right.
So the immunity levels aren't really building up, but the general rabbit population is building up, and so are the levels of immune rabbits. Right. So we're not getting huge numbers there, but the worrying factor is when it goes through, the virus works on a population, which is occurring naturally now. We don't reintroduce it.
Yep.
And it's about April, May. It's about now. We just, yesterday I saw big numbers of dead rabbits out in the Waimak riverbed.
Yep.
So it's starting to work there now, which is really good.
Yep. So with the immunity, how does a rabbit actually gain immunity? Is there a certain stage of its life that's critical, or is it because its parents are immune? Or?
Because its parents are immune, it's better into the population. Yeah. Yes, yeah.
So that's the fact that those numbers are building up. Is that an indication that perhaps there's not enough other control methods being undertaken to?
That'd be right, Rob. Yes. The old when the rabbit numbers were low, the night shooting, guy on a motorbike with a shotgun or a 22 could knock a few rabbits over, and that was enough to keep them down. But now we're starting to look at some pretty major poisoning campaigns against the rabbit again. 1080 carrots, pindone pellets. It's getting harder and harder for farmers to do their own control work. Pindone is now licence required, so a farmer would have to set a licence and to be licensed to use pindone poison, which is $500. It's a five-year licence, so it's not that easy to do. But and people sort of got out of the way of rabbit control over the last few years too. Really, some of the older farmers were really up to play with rabbits. They would give us a ring as soon as they saw rabbit numbers building up because they knew what they were looking at. But yeah, it's a bit of a different ball game now. Yeah. A lot of expertise have gone out of the industry.
Yeah, and that can be a problem too. You get a generation that comes in when numbers are down and something like RHD is working, just ticking away in the background, and you see a similar thing in weeds sometimes too, don't you? And then it just quietly catches up on them again. And without that knowledge of it in the past, it can be a bit of a problem. So is it quite general throughout Canterbury, this problem, or is it isolated in some areas?
It seems to be fairly general in Canterbury. Again, Banks Peninsula is lucky in the fact that it's retained the old pest board rating-based system. And in that area, we just go and do the work. We check the areas ourselves on the ground, and once we see rabbit populations starting to build up, we do the work, and it comes from a rate from the farmer. So they don't incur a bill as such. They just pay their rates every year. And I think the rabbit numbers on Banks Peninsula are as low as anywhere in the South Island. They're very low.
And what are the immunity levels like on the peninsula then?
They're so low we don't check.
Is that right?
Yeah. You need 30 rabbits out of the population to do to get a sample, and our night shooting we're probably picking up 12, 15 rabbits a night if we're doing we start night shooting blocks. So very difficult to get a sample to get enough rabbits out of one area.
So that might be a message on a bigger scale, mightn't it?
Well, possibly could be, Rob. Yeah, possibly could be. So it's a lot of foresight gone into retaining that rating area, but and what gives you high rabbit numbers is soil proneness and cover and altitude, and Banks Peninsula has got some really good rabbit habitat, Kaitoriti Spit and those areas like that, and Godley Head and some of the eastern bays with the headlands that dry up very quick early in the summer, and the rabbits breed very well in those conditions. So they have got the country there to give them good rabbit numbers.
I'm quite sure of that. I remember when I was a young fellow, I used to go to Tumbledown Bay a bit, and I can remember the hill moving with rabbits over there.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So it's obviously quite an achievement.
Yes, and it's enabled us to stop using a lot of toxins. We might use a wee bit of pindone during the course of the year. We haven't used 1080 on rabbits for many years on the peninsula. I don't believe we'll have to. It's if we can carry on going as we go. It's a bit of night shooting, a bit of fumigating. We can gas rabbit warrens and things like that, which are just old standard rabbit control practices.
The old bread and butter.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Go on a bike and just it works really well.
Those areas where there are quite big rabbit problems, presumably they're not just on one property, that they're on a number of properties. So outside that Banks Peninsula area, I presume it's all user pays, and
Indeed.
does that cause problems with, if I decide to do my rabbits this year and my neighbour decides he's not going to do his, does that cause a lot of problems, or is it not an issue?
No, absolutely, Rob. The rabbit control carried out on one property, and rabbits don't respect boundary fences, so it is important that all areas are covered for the rabbit control for the person spending that money. And we're looking at $30,000, $40,000 control jobs. It's not cheap. So and the current situation, financial situation, it's pretty difficult getting that sort of money together to do work on one property. And so it's a matter of talking to the farmers. ECAN have got a coordinator going now. So the coordinator goes around, he's talking to as many farmers as he can to make sure that we can somehow get in there and get these jobs carried out. So there's a lot of work going into combining all these operations together.
Right. So Environment Canterbury is paying that out of their rate funding, are they?
Yes, yeah.
Just giving that bit of support to the farming community.
Yep, and it's certainly helping us on the ground doing the control work. As we're doing the control work, our staff in North Canterbury and that it's assisting them greatly.
Because you guys are actually contractors, aren't you? You're working for the farmer, you're not working for Environment Canterbury except on Banks Peninsula.
That's right. Yes, and it is all contract work. Right. Absolutely.
So if the farmers don't go and do the work, you guys haven't got a job, I guess.
No, well, that's right too. Yes, yeah. But you'll find that most of the farmers are pretty aware what the rabbits are doing to their properties now. They're losing grass, and without the grass, they're not grazing stock. So they're well aware of what the problems are there.
And do you think this is starting to build up towards sort of like the so-called plagues that we've had in the past, and can we prevent that happening again? Have we got the tools to do it still?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think the expertise is there's a lot of knowledgeable guys gone out of the industry in the years, and we've got training programs in place trying to get younger guys on board and get them up to speed on doing good rabbit control operations.
Because it is a number of years since there were large aerial jobs done, isn't it? And presumably aerial contractors have moved on as well.
Yes, they're getting things to cut carrot. You've got carrot cutters to cut carrot. You need screeners to screen the chaff out of the carrot so you're not laying chaff on the ground. And the equipment is expensive. They haven't made carrot cutters for many years now. Right. I don't know what the cost of a new carrot cutter would be these days. It would be a lot of money. It'd be very expensive.
So these are all quite technical issues that could cause a few problems down the track, really.
Yes. 1975, I think, was some of the last pre-RHD poison operations carried out. So there's been a few years gone by.
They have indeed. Mm-hmm. A few of us have got a bit longer.
The growing the beard and things. Yeah.
Oh, that's been very interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for coming in.
Oh, thanks, Rob.
And
it's been great having a chat to you.
Interesting job you've got out there.
It always is, yeah. And we're just so lucky having a great team of guys to work with, the farmers and things. The cooperation has been exceptional.